Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Hacked in the Dark. We are a network of Forged in the Dark players and designers. This is going to be our first episode of Moth-Light today, this being part one, and it's an actual play showcasing this Forged in the Dark game made by our lovely GM today, Justin Ford. Justin, would you mind explaining the game to us?
Yeah, I'll do my best. So Moth-Light is a science fiction game. It's inspired by speculative fiction and science fiction television, as well as it has other inspirations, including a hefty dose of Breath of the Wild or Horizon Zero Dawn, etc. Games in which that take place after the fall of humanity, basically, or of elves. I don't know, whatever Breath of the Wild people are. But yeah, so this is set in a world that's kind of ruled over by these insectoid creatures. So if you have any issues with insects or potentially violence, so it should probably be PG-13 level of violence, you might want to consider the content warning I'm giving you now. Otherwise, we're going to be exploring a variety of characters that we're about to be introduced to, and their complex dynamics with the Promise Pact. Pacts in Moth-Light are kind of like crews in Blades in the Dark, if you're familiar with that game, in the sense that they bring our players together. And the one that we've chosen, which we'll be introduced to in play, is all about accomplishing an epic quest of sorts, and also in testing the bonds of that pact to see if we'll actually stick together and accomplish what we set out to do. So with that said, let's introduce you to the rest of the crew. Nychelle?
Hello, I am Nychelle, pronouns she, her, and I will be playing Sequa today, who is the favorite playbook. And that is essentially a privileged leader and diplomat.
Yeah, hey, I'm Mike, or Eskur, he, him. I'm playing Kettu, the heart, a little fiery ball of chaos.
And I'm Travis. Anything's good for me. And I am playing a character by the name of Vholt, who is the playbook sage, kind of a know-it-all, and in this case, lover of like the history or math, kind of.
And I'm Danielle. I use she or they pronouns, and I'm playing Seer, the shell, which is a construct into which a soul has been put. So we'll see how that goes.
We will. And as well as being the designer of the game, I'm also going to be your GM today. So, I'm Justin, he, him. Like I said, I'm going to be your GM, and we're going to introduce you to the world of Moth-Light. Since this is an actual play, and it is a Hacked in the Dark actual play, we'll also be going over some of the mechanics of the game as we play. This will be both for you, the viewer, and some of the players as well, I'm sure, as studious as I'm certain they are. But today, we're going to be introducing you all to our characters in media res, as we join them on a journey to deliver a message to the Ember Wish, a character in the far reaches of Keeper territory. If we can imagine in our mind's eye that this is a television show, we can get kind of a sweeping image of four individuals traveling across an alien landscape that is reminiscent of our own, but awash in reds and silica whites. We see plant life that is brilliant crimson or alabaster, and we see various herds of creatures that are, kind of twists on Earth-like beings wandering in the horizon. And as we zoom in, I would love to get a more in-depth introduction each of your characters, starting with Nychelle. And could you tell us about your character, what they look like, what their beliefs are, etc.?
Yes, Sequa, which is short for the family name of Sequin, is a 32-year-old fallen leaf, a diplomat, a little on the short side, but not necessarily impatient in edicts. They are covered in a sequined jacket that signifies them being a diplomat. And yeah, she's pretty much just hanging out, patiently waiting for something to happen. Belief Sequa is destined to be the mouthpiece that brings the words of the ancients to the present, and it is what she was designed for, and that is what she believes.
Beside Sequa, there are a number of interesting looking figures. I think I'd like to go to the most interesting looking amongst them. Danielle, would you introduce us to T.S.E.E.R?
Yeah. So T.S.E.E.R is a gold and silver construct, roughly 4 feet tall, in the shape of a eagle or hawk. If you have seen Clash of the Titans, Bubo the owl, that's the aesthetic I'm going for. He
Not the remake, right?
No, God no.
The original.
And he is on this quest mostly because he doesn't know why else he's here. He awoke to this new existence, not knowing why or how, and he needs for this pact to succeed because that's the only way that he can believe that his continued existence actually means something.
And finally, sorry, not finally, I guess. We actually have 2 more characters. Say, how about the sage? Todd, would you introduce us to Vholt?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm playing Vholt. He's probably a bit older looking, I imagine, than maybe you might expect. He's probably mid to late 20s, but he has like graying hair and things that are maybe a bit more iconic of age. Words are hard sometimes.
Yeah.
The other thing, though, that's very stark and probably sets him apart from other people around in this world is that he has clothing on that's definitely like very stylized. So from the world we live in now, we came to this place from a fallen empire that once spanned the stars. And
yes.
Vholt is part of a clan called the New Steel that reveres these predecessors. They want to find as much as they can about that like old civilization and try to like incorporate it or get back to the glory that we once held. So his clothing is kind of different. It's maybe very like futuristic, almost like nylon or like plasticky kind of feel. I feel like his pants are almost like pantaloons, like kind of puffy, but they have like a triangle like pattern that's very like geometric to them.
Nice.
And everything's like very sleek. Except like he probably has like a bunch of junk that he's carrying around as well. Just like scraps of like technology that he's acquired or been able to trade for. And I think he's probably not too far behind T.S.E.E.R. Observing, but
yeah,
maybe
taking an interest in it.
Yeah, maybe staying a little bit quiet after probably having been told to stop asking questions a bit prior.
And Eskur, would you describe who I believe is the youngest? I guess I don't know how old T.S.E.E.R is, but the youngest member of our team, as far as anyone knows.
Yeah, Kettu is around 19. I don't think they know. They are a short. They're quite short. They're usually wearing like orange silks that have been faded. Like in the beginning, they were really flashy, dyed, but now they're kind of faded. It's got scraggly red hair with like feathers and stuff braided into it, and it's always looking at the horizon with sharp flame-like eyes, I guess.
And Kettu, I have a question for you. During character creation, a lot of us work together to establish some details about the world. We used the quick start and largely chose either random or semi-random choices there to make this pact that we're into today. And as you know, we're on a mission to speak to the Ember Wish. As for you, had to make your character a little bit later. So for my edification and the rest of our players, why did they choose? Why were they chosen to be a part of this expedition?
Yeah, I think it's the like I was sternly asked to be part of this expedition because I know Ember Wish,
Yes.
And I said okay, that's fine because I want to travel anyway. That's what I've been doing.
And you know the Ember Wish, and very many people do not, because I think that they're a fairly reclusive figure for us to have a whole quest to essentially deliver them this message. What are they like? What is the Ember Wish like, and why are they so difficult to get to?
I think when I knew them, they were quite old and wise and curmudgeon-y, and like sort of and mentored me, but also instilled in me that streak of just rebelliousness.
Yeah, they certainly have a sense of curiosity as someone who collects augur and ancient devices and is kind of they're a powerful figure, but one who is, again, like a collector of ancient things and information and rumors. And as we know, as our characters know, rather, the Council of Fallen Leaf has decided that they are the best hope for our message to be enacted upon, and for us to be saved from the incoming doom, which I will describe to you soon, audience. Nychelle, you are perhaps the only person who was there when that message was received. I'm wondering if you would mind flashing back for us and exploring that moment in time.
Well, she doesn't talk that much about it.
Yeah.
Um,
we had a whole, I imagine, this was with a whole group of folks who came across this message embedded in the network, the kind of Wi-Fi internet that permeates the whole planet. It's broken into segments and has collapsed into ruin. But your character, while you aren't quite an adept, I believe you mentioned you were part of this kind of order or this cast of people who, in Fallen Leaf, who regularly plumbed that network for knowledge and information. They came across this message in a startling revelation. What kind of panic set in once it was discovered? Were you even aware of the contents?
I was aware of the contents. I didn't
Yeah.
fully, I mean, it was broken up between each of us. So there was a little bit of a puzzle as each of us told our part to figure out the full message.
Right.
And
when
yeah.
you put together that alien invaders were returning to finish what they had started, some thousands of years ago, what what was the vibe, I guess you could say, in the room?
I would say awe-inspiring horror and uncertainty.
Mm-hmm. Was this a carefully guarded secret? Or does everyone involved me know?
Parts of the message are. They are only known to those that of the council that it was revealed to.
Mm-hmm. Do the rest of the Pact know what this message contains in its entirety?
They've been told the important parts.
I see. Perhaps the same could be said for you.
Perhaps. Who's to know, really, though?
When the council convened, who amongst our party did you personally invite?
I personally invited Vholt.
That makes sense. Vholt, how did you feel whenever it was revealed that there is life out there still and they have an interest in you?
I think that probably wasn't terribly surprising. I think Volt is probably a bit more on the optimistic side, especially in a world that's kind of like scraping at the past, very much so. So I think Volt wouldn't have been terribly shocked at this information, but probably quite excited. I think Volt is probably on the line of trying to constantly get Sequa to release more information about whatever it is that we're supposed to be knowing or delivering, because it's very curious to be taking a message somewhere, I think, without really understanding it. To Volt, like, not understanding things is akin to just like throwing it in the garbage, which is probably a bit ironic, I think, because as much as Volt wants to learn and take in the things, I'm assuming that our collective knowledge has declined quite a lot. So there's probably a lot of artifacts that we find and we're like, oh yeah, it was meant for this, but we have no idea.
Speaking of artifacts that we have no idea about, Seer, when you were awakened by the council to serve on this expedition, what is the last thing you remember?
From before I went to sleep?
Yes.
Fire.
And when you awoke in this form, was it for the first time?
Yes.
I see. Are memories of your past vague, or do they come back to you frequently?
I think they are. I don't think they come back frequently. And I think when they do, they are sharp, like sense memories, but without any context and like you can't see the faces of the people that are in them and things like that.
I see. And for Kettu, you were asked by the scattered council person to serve on this expedition. Perhaps seemingly a great honor for someone so young. Why did they come to you first, besides the fact that you know Ember Wish?
Yeah, I think they know that this is going to be a long journey,
Mhm.
right? And someone needs to provide support and how to put it, a spark of joy in the darkness.
So on the day that we all convened to discuss this mission and have your tasks assigned to you, I think there was a great ceremony just within the council chambers of all of the council members, imparting on you the importance of this mission. I've actually represented the council as one of the factions of interest in this game, even if they won't be present. What they want, what they desire for you to do will be an important element of the story going forward, amongst others. Tell me, as you set off from Fallen Leaf, Sequa, when was the last time you left the village? The security of this village?
I'm guessing that I've never left before. Usually my work has always remained here. My work is important here. Evidently now my work is important elsewhere. Vholt won't stop talking about the different places.
And how do you feel about the party that's been assembled for you?
And they are adequate.
And how does the party feel about Sequa?
Protective.
They'll be fun to elicit responses from, let's say.
I think Vholt doesn't have any direct conflict, maybe not yet, but there's definitely I think that Vholt maybe doesn't dislike authority, but the style of authority, especially keeping people in the dark, I think it rubs Vholt the wrong way.
Vholt, we've talked about this.
Listen,
You can
philosophize
philosophize and take apart and extrapolate information from exactly what I've given you. Anything further is beyond us. It is for the ancients and ancients alone in the Ember Wish. Isn't that why we're here on this journey to begin with?
I mean, I guess I've never met the Ember Wish, but I mean, wouldn't you prefer having something more tangible to present him? I mean, more than just a story?
That's my job. I am here to provide words. There is nothing more that I am meant to do.
I have one last question for the group before we get into the action of our game. In this group, we have members from 4 of the 5 clans Beacon. We do not have anyone of the Mossblood clan, the warrior clan that walks bravely through the twilight jungles in the midst of moths. Why not? Why was one not chosen for this expedition?
They don't believe in augury.
I like it. Whenever the message was given to them, they disbelieved.
Seems
They're
reasonable.
not going to pour resources into a trip that is baseless.
I like it. And so part of what hinges on this mission is also convincing them, perhaps, of the importance of this message. So, as we come back to the present time, the 4 of you are looking out on an expanse, and below you is a great herd of let's say like lizard-like creatures being herded by a group of keepers. You have come to the edge of their territory. This is kind of the first leg of your journey to find the Ember Wish, and you know that you will need their permission to travel through the edge of this wilderness. What do you do as you come across, the first group of people you've seen since you set out?
I think Vholt will kind of start leading the group, maybe a bit quicker, and maybe look back to T.S.E.E.R. The clans are easily recognizable, yes, so I would know that they're keepers.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, both by look and by custom. Like, these are the only people who probably herd in this region of the world.
Sure. So I think I'll kind of look back to T.S.E.E.R. And just kind of like, is there anything we need to know before we approach them? Some sort of greetings that would be proper? Or have you, I kind of like gesture to T.S.E.E.R. Maybe you didn't get quite enough contact with them before the council awakened you?
Do you want an answer, or are you fishing for information?
Hopefully I can get both.
I think Sequa, under her breath, is just going to say, and here we go.
I can't say I remember any of the customs here, no.
Vholt will kind of just nod and be like, very well, then I'm sure a normal greeting will do. They shouldn't be too taken aback by it. And he'll kind of like keep continuing down that way.
Usually if you start with hello, that's usually a good starting point.
Yes, hello, okay.
As you approach the group of keeper herders, they catch wind of you too, and probably a number of keeper firebrands will gather around to kind of just act as a greeting party for you. Eskur, you were about to say something. Does Kettu get involved in making introductions?
Yeah, I think that's exactly what happens. Kettu is about to say something and then just takes out like a flask and offers it as part of the greeting.
Ooh, a gift. I think that's a good way to introduce yourself.
Well, like uncorks.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. They wave to you and invite you to come closer. They're definitely, I think that's the right way to go. To offer friendship first.
Are you even old enough to drink that? Or is it filled with juice?
Yeah, I think it's some sort of juice or tea or something like that.
Wait a minute, you haven't even tried it yet?
No, Listen,
You stole it?
Someone said it would be good. Okay, back at the the thing. They're giving it out.
Well, did you steal it or were you gifted it?
I mean, is there a difference?
Yes. Also, if it's juice, it may have soured. So your gift on giving it to these people may be taken poorly.
All right,
you offered it, so
you're right. ambassador to the herders. You should test this.
That's not what I meant, and I don't drink.
Right.
Cut to you all meeting with the headsmen, I guess, of this group of keepers, happily accepting your little offering, Kettu. And I think that they ask of you, what can we do for you in return? What can we offer you? It's unusual to see a such mixed party at this season.
Yeah, I think Kettu asks I don't think Kettu has traveled this region before. Like they traveled a lot, but not here. And they ask like how, what's the way to get to where we're going, basically.
That's a good question. I think that they'll look around and they ask you, like, well, how well do you know our territory?
Not well at all. Simply some blessings and pointed in the right direction would be lovely.
Well, you're in luck. There are many landmarks that I feel will get you where you wish to go. The Ember Wish lives in the Forgotten City, as I'm sure you're aware, and you cannot miss it once it's within several leagues. But to get there, you'll need to pass through a deep valley, and I worry that Moths will be upon you in that time. Travel carefully.
Indeed we will. Thank you very much for the warning.
And if I may, what is this thing that you travel with?
What thing?
Kind of just looking over to see her, glancing maybe nervously even. The golden bird. Is this a costume of some kind?
They haven't taken it off if it is one.
Oh. Well, I don't mean to hinder you here. You may travel with us as long as you like.
If you wish to speak to the bird, it does talk. Very intelligent. You're more than welcome to ask it any questions you wish. Though, that one, and just points to Vholt, you may want to be careful of questions. Continually asks more.
I'm sorry, what does that mean exactly?
He proves my point.
The farmer is left a little aghast for words, but I think you'll all have some time in which you can get to know these people if you want, or keep your own company. But eventually, you come to the end, to a crossroads of sorts, as the keepers intend to go further out to the rim towards the desert where they can follow the light. We are in the month of calm now as we enter our game. For our players, you can find this on the Promise Pact, where we're following the seasons. Each of our sessions will be roughly, one season's worth of time, and there are 6 on Beacon. That's not only so that we can track the coming and going of the light, but also so that we can kind of model some of what the factions are up to between sessions. And in Moth-Light, it also kind of determines the prevalence of moths as we get out of Song and Calm, months characterized by kind of the solstice, the summer solstice of the year of sorts. The light starts to fade away, and moths return to this world. And that is when things get particularly dangerous here, and is something that you'll have to contend with in the month to come. But for now, it's open skies, and you can travel freely without fear of attack from above. Tell me, how have each of you prepared for the more dangerous leg of this journey? Or what preparations have you yet to do?
I think Sequa was sent in part on this mission as protection.
Mm-hmm.
He has talons and can use them, and he can fly. And I think that his preparation is... He didn't do much preparation, mostly because he doesn't need to eat or drink or sleep. So there wasn't much going on beforehand. But I think there's a lot of kind of reacclimating to everything.
Yeah.
That he's doing along the way.
Vholt and Kettu, you are two of the more worldly of our group. You've probably been out and about outside of Fallen Leaf as opposed to Sequa here. Living under the threat of Moths is just something that you've dealt with your entire life. So I'm sure you're well prepared to do so again this year. But what is it that you do that is just kind of second nature to you to prepare for the darker seasons?
I think for Vholt, it's actually probably not as natural.
Oh yeah.
As maybe because I think living in the Warrens.
Right, you live underground.
Yeah, I think it is kind of like a seasonal like shutout thing where like exploration and the ability to go out and find new relics kind of shuts down, and people start like living underground primarily, like less traveling during moth season. Although I imagine there probably are people within the clan that are trained in keeping them away, should they try to like invade or something.
It's relatively safe down there if you decide to, hole up. But I imagine occasionally there's still the burrowing or nesting creatures that you don't want to run into in some dark corner of a warren somewhere. And so, yeah, for you, it's more about kind of holing in, which kind of, I guess, leaves Kettu as someone who's wandered here and too. Might that be an advantage for you on this journey as like the person who knows how to travel in the midst of moths?
Yeah, I think Kettu has a lot of good instincts built up in addition to the, knowing what to bring. But I think the thing they do, and they put a lot of stock in, is they read the cards, right? They have
That's right.
Set. Yeah.
You have chosen for your trapping, you've chosen a custom trapping, a tarot deck.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Would you like to describe this deck for us? Maybe draw a card.
Yeah.
For the day.
Yeah, well, I think the set that they drew for this at the beginning of this journey was the Hermit, Temperance, and the Wheel of Fortune. Indicating that, we're going to see a hermit. Oh, who knew? And we'll need to exercise some restraint, and we'll need luck, as is usually the case. As for what it looks like, I think they're sort of flexible synthetic metal that doesn't rust. I think Kettu has sort of drawn over the old illustrations.
Is this something you'd be instructing everyone else on in the month preceding the moth?
the particular rating, or
like the techniques necessary to survive out in the wilderness.
sure, if anyone will listen.
That's fair. And would you listen, Sequa?
It depends. If I simply do it via the tarot cards. But Sequa hasn't really ever experienced the moths personally. She has heard of them. Her plan is to simply turn her jacket inside out. So she's not trying. Otherwise, she has made no plans.
Well, I think I would like to jump into our first bit of like action here with that note, because I think, shocking to each of you, calls ring out amongst the herders. And at first you're looking around for like, what could this possibly be? And then you look to the sky, and though it seems impossible, because they should be away, a moth flies above, just soaring, and it seems to just be droning like above you, kind of doing like a scan, like scanning the horizon, looking for something to pounce upon. What do you do? It's just a dark shadow at the moment. I think it has a bulbous body with these wide wings.
I make sure that Kettu is more visible than me.
What kind of cover is there?
There are rolling hills, there's tall brush, but otherwise not a lot of large trees.
Are the keepers doing anything specific? Are they still trying to herd their creatures?
They're kind of gathering together. They're gathering everyone into like a large mass and kind of using their herd to essentially like protect themselves. You know, if it takes one of their beasts, that wouldn't be great, but you know, they'll do their best to fend it off. But it would be better than, you know, taking a person.
Sure. I think Vholt, seeing this, he probably wasn't invited into the cool keeper circle, but I think Volt's going to try to make his way in there, because that was definitely my plan, right? Like,
right.
Present the lesser creatures, the stock, to the moth, and hope for the best.
I can't believe I'm doing this. Kettu, your orange is way too bright. You might want to borrow a jacket from somebody.
Danielle, you were asking how fast they are. You know, I don't know how much your character remembers about moths. Maybe there's some kind of instinctual understanding, you know, just in the sense of like an amnesiacs have in fiction, generally speaking. You would know that like some of them are lightning fast. This one seems to be taking its time. It doesn't seem threatened by anyone down here, and it seems to be, you know, waiting to choose the best opportunity, or so you can make out.
Okay.
But if you want to learn more, this might be a good cause to gather information.
Yeah, I think I want to gather some information. I want to try to discern what
it's up to, what's going to happen next.
Yeah, like, is it actively hunting? Is it just flying by and like, I could go for a bite? Or like what?
Yeah, so let's make our first roll of the game.
Yeah.
Would you like to tell me what it is you're going to roll?
Sense?
Yeah, so you're rolling Sense, which is an action under resolve. For folks who are new to Moth-Light, Moth-Light uses a modified version of Forge in the Dark action system. Essentially, there's still an action list under attributes, but each action actually adds a point to the attribute rating, which you roll for any highlighted actions. So in this case, Seer has under Resolve, Relate, and Sense highlighted, which means you roll 2 dice by default for any Relate and Sense actions. Whereas Attune and Demand, which are not highlighted under Resolve, you roll 0 by default. But that said, you can push yourself to gain extra dice, even if you're rolling 0 dice, just as usual. Someone could aid you. In this case, I'm not saying it's dangerous just to look here to gather this information, because again, this moth is taking its time in choosing a victim. So I wouldn't necessarily push you to add an extra dice, but you can if you want.
No, I don't think yet. I think I'm just gonna roll straight.
All right.
What's my positioning?
This is just this is a non-positional roll at the moment because again, it's not acting against you at this moment.
Gotcha. 4.
So a 4, I'll give you a straight answer, basically, which is that. Well, first of all, what kind of interesting sensory equipment do we see? Because Seer is a robot, right? Essentially, they're an android or a cyborg, or something like that.
There's like a whirring sound as their eyes focus.
That's right, of course.
Because like lenses, and I think that's the biggest thing is lots of like jerky bird-like movements of the head. And because that's part of how birds judge distance, and then the focusing of the lenses in the eyes.
So you focus and you're able to kind of make out the details of this otherwise kind of just shadow essentially at this moment, high up above you, and you see something surprising, which is that this thing, much like yourself, is not a creature, a biological creature. It is made of metal. And other kind of like, man-made compounds. It's a construct. Otherwise, it looks kind of, like I said, it's bulbous. I think it has like the rough appearance of a fly or a leafhopper, actually. I think it's a great choice here. If you've ever seen it with that nice little horn it has crest on its back. And it has these very wide wings that keep it aloft, but you can see like there's a reason it's just kind of soaring. It's because it doesn't need them to flap or buzz to fly. It's a construct of some kind, and you can even like maybe see its many eyes like focusing down at the ground below you. We get a close-up shot of the thing as it seems to quite literally be scanning you all.
Right. I think Seer will speak up and ask, it's been a while. Are there any moths? And he kind of like gestures at himself with a wing, like me.
Who are you asking this to, since we know some people have scattered a bit?
I imagine he's nearest to Kettu. So probably in that general direction, and probably also partly to Sequa, because she's probably also nearby.
Yeah, I think Kettu is like, no, what? Well, what? Okay, do you just tell Kettu that there's a robotic moth, or just ask if there are?
Well, I ask that pointedly.
Right. Quite literally, like, why you ask.
Yeah, if you ask like, why are you asking? I'll be like, well.
Yeah. Yeah. So Kettu is just like, oh no, that's a fantastic idea.
It probably immediately makes sense as to why a moth would be there in this season, given that it shouldn't be. There should be a way.
I wouldn't mind doing a roll before I answer, just to see if Sequa has, being a diplomat and a speaker especially, knowing or having heard of something like this before.
Some kind of knowledge. Yeah, if you want to make a fortune roll to determine that. 6 being like you definitely know, 1 being you don't know at all.
I think I'm going to use sense for this. 5.
So you know a fair deal about something like this. You were warned about this.
Okay.
You were warned by the mystics who received this message that there are people out there who will be looking for you.
So this is
There are
specifically
forces looking for
related
you.
to the message that
Correct.
I'm hearing.
Correct.
Okay. So with this knowledge, Sequa is going to very quickly look around and say, all right, I'm not one for panic, but now we panic. They are after the message that we carry. We need to blend in. And then Sequa will turn to the speakers and say, can we borrow some of your cloaks to appear as you?
I love this. Might I suggest that this might be like a group role of some kind?
It'd be fantastic.
I feel like our sage Vholt has already kind of taken this tactic, so you're free, even though you're not nearby, you're free to participate in this role.
We don't all. Do we have to roll the same skill?
So, because the action system is different in Moth-Light, thank you for asking, group roles have to work a little differently in this. Essentially, Sequa, you are leading this role, it sounds like, based on what you just said. So you would choose one of your action ratings to start us off. And then what happens is everyone else actually rolls dice based on their relationship to you. So if you would consider Sequa a friend or a rival, you actually get to roll a single die for this roll. If not, you roll 0. You can push yourself as usual, add dice, etc. But the issue with this roll is based on the final result, we take the highest result of any of you, between all of you. Based on the result, you're all going to face consequences, potentially, if it's a 4 or 5 or a 1 to 3. Nychelle, Sequa will take some stress based on failures.
I'm going to go ahead and use my insight. I believe mislead is
Absolutely.
a favorite appropriate attribute, so we'll use that one.
Absolutely.
And friend does not have to be literally marked as friend on the sheet, is that correct?
For player characters, no. It can be in this moment.
Okay.
If it's a player character. The player character doesn't get to choice in the matter. It's a unidirectional friendship or rivalry.
Sure. So I think for Vholt, the answer is yes. Sequa is not marked as a friend on my sheet, but ostensibly Sequa
this is the beginning
leader.
Of a mission that you're doing together.
We have to trust this person, right? This is
by default.
So I'll roll 1 die, and I will not push.
Excellent.
Excellent. You'll like that result, Sequa.
Thank you.
That's good.
I adore mine.
What will you be rolling?
Yeah. Okay, so Sequa is my rival, so I roll 1d, right?
Correct.
But I still pick an action, or
rivalries can inspire you to greatness as well. You don't pick an action.
Okay.
This is simply you're supporting them in their action. So, yeah.
All right. A 5.
Beautiful. And Danielle?
6.
Wow. So we know.
By the way,
we know that you succeed.
I got you a 1. Don't worry.
Okay, so Nychelle, Sequa's going to take 2 stress. As both you and Vholt flounder for a moment, but Eskur and Danielle, your characters kind of pull the group through. How do you do that?
I think Seer is watching the moth's movements to find when its attention wavers.
Mm-hmm.
I'm almost imagining like a shell game.
Right. Yeah. You have the best view on this thing, so whenever it looks like it's paying attention to you, you move everyone.
Yeah.
Is that kind of the idea? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. I think Kettu is talking to the shepherds and just assuring them, like, yeah, you'll get the cloaks back. Well, it'll just be a little bit, it'll be fine. Don't worry about that thing.
You're totally going to steal one of their, out of character, you're totally going to steal one of their jackets, aren't you?
We're all stealing them, right? We're not going to come back.
No, we're borrowing. This is different than what you did with the flask.
I like that maybe we have this argument as you have now separated completely from the farmers, perhaps never to be seen again. But you notice that the moth, after a while, gets tired of scanning these farmers and eventually flies off, probably to the great relief of the people below. How do you contextualize this encounter? Nychelle, one of the things that you told might come to pass has come to pass. Does that reinforce the importance of this? Yeah.
She probably, Sequa is going over like everything that I've been told on like, okay, we were all in that room together in front of the council. What was said? That may relate to what so-and-so mentions. So at this point, Sequa is, and that does bring up a good point. I rolled a 2, so there's a consequence.
There's no consequence because you have a you gain stress for group action, but with group actions, the highest roll amongst all of you is what we count. And so since it was a 6, there were no consequences for that.
Okay, I think Sequa, if anyone is close by, would probably, hear her just speaking, of just saying words over and over and over, repeating different passages. Some of it may not make sense. Some of it may be in an ancient tongue. You're not exactly sure.
I actually maybe like the idea that we flash back during that to the council meeting, where it's kind of, things are kind of hectic in the council chamber, as you've all been gathered to kind of receive this message. And the moment has come to reveal what it is you should know, essentially, before you're sent away. Nychelle, you have a character on your sheet, Adenine, a poet, a word, and sign. Might it be fair to say that they might be like the mouthpiece for the council?
Yeah, I think that would make perfect sense.
So Adenine comes out with many of the mystics kind of lost in repeating this passage that you yourself maybe were repeating just then. Kind of a cipher, a code of some kind, which they address to the 4 of you and the other council members that are here. And they say, 4 days ago, our mystics received a signal from a segment of the network that we had never reached before. Cygnus Station is still active in the skies above us, and it has been for millennia. Its instruments have picked up something that's coming towards us at light speed. It will not be here for some time, but that time is running out. I don't know what it is that can be done, how we can protect ourselves from beings that could wipe out human civilization at its height. But we have to do something.
I think in that flashback, Sequa asks, was the message demanding, or was it authoritative? Oh, sorry. Was it authoritatively demanding,
Right.
or was it benign in notice?
It was a warning signal, something that had been ignored for hundreds of years. Whatever capabilities Cygnus Station has, it's known about this for some time. But we're only receiving it now. I have authorized our members to awaken a guardian to travel to the Ember Wish. She has access to technologies that we do not, to information that has been lost to time. Perhaps somewhere in her annals, like, we can find some way to fight back. I will receive any questions at this time. And she kind of opens it up to the larger members of the group. That is to say, everyone other than Nychelle's character, who is like a member of the Mystics, to ask some clarifying questions about what it is you're supposed to be doing.
That is the rest of us, right?
Correct.
Man, that's really big.
Like, whoa.
Hold on a second.
Galaxy brain.
Hold on.
I think Vholt would first ask, like, what is the Ember Wish? Like, who is this? They can do something about it? You presume?
I love this question because this is a great explainer for both ourselves and the audience. The Ember Wish is a hermit of sorts, someone well respected by the Keeper clan. She has lived a long time. She's collected many things. We have brought one into your number who knows of Ember and her power. Kettu, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, and Kettu gets up and bows. It's like, so we're to be couriers then? Well, I've done that before.
You were to deliver this message, and she has like kind of what almost looks like a silvery scroll kind of a shape, like it has like handles and stuff on it, but you know that inside is essentially just carrying like a digital information of some kind. And she hands it to you, Kettu, actually. We wish for this to be received intact. Please, whatever you do not compromise it. Not so much because we are hiding anything from you, but because we wish for the message to be received with the utmost of trust by the Ember Wish.
Yeah, I think Kettu look up, like they were thinking about how to open the thing.
Mm-hmm. Immediately. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and he just, it's like, oh, okay, all right, okay.
And in case you were tempted, she says, almost as if knowing what you're thinking, we have assigned one of our number, Sequa. You've been chosen. The other mystics.
Scroll or the child?
You've been chosen.
Sorry, I just had to.
You've been chosen as our representative, as our ambassador, both because you have been trusted with this information, because you are one of our number, and because we feel that you are best suited to keep this group together. Besides, the other mystics will be busy processing this information and looking for alternatives in case of your failure.
I can keep them together with words.
However you wish.
Mm. Thank you for this great honor. I think everyone will know that Sequa does not very specifically say something along the lines of, I will do my best not to fail you, because she's just like, it doesn't need to be said.
Danielle, do you like the idea that T.S.E.E.R has been here the whole time, or is this like the moment you're brought in and activated?
I like that second thing.
So how is it that you were brought into the room? Like, are you entombed in something? Or are you just like brought like some old device, like handily between two people? What's going on?
I think he's like rolled out on like a hand cart. He's dusty. He's been in storage for a long time.
Is he that printer that was just left there in the conference room and just forgotten about?
They didn't really know why he was in storage, but now that they have this mission, they're like, I bet that thing could do something. And I think one of the one of the elders comes over and like dusts off some part of the panel and like squints at it for a moment. And then lifts some kind of hatch, punches in something, and the eyes light up.
The new Steel Council member, actually, I think will refer to Vholt, and they will say, Vholt, this will be your protector, and you in turn will be its keeper. Would you step forward, please? The three of you. And gesturing to the three party members who are not currently like asleep, who have been activated already, I guess you could say. And as you come forward, they'll kind of guide your hand, Vholt, to activating T.S.E.E.R, which I think you can do. You can probably like attune to T.S.E.E.R somehow to kind of do the command, but they'll kind of guide you mentally through it. And yeah, T.S.E.E.R, you come awake just as you said. Is there some kind of imprinting element, or is it literally just a matter of like you awaken and kind of are ready to do your duty?
I think he wakes up and yells and loses his balance and falls backwards.
Vholt as well.
Yeah.
Anybody next to a giant bird.
That does actually bring up a good point. What was the last thing you ever saw before you were just turned back on?
Right, you're in fire, I think you said.
Yes. Oh my god.
And I think like he falls over, lands on the ground in a display of metal and wings and clawed feet, and it takes a moment. I think that the mouth is open, like he's panting, because it's a reflexive kind of action. And then there is a bunch of clicking and whirring, and then like blink, the eyes focusing, blinking, kind of getting his bearings.
Does Vholt fully understand? Vholt gets what's going on, right?
I mean,
I get it.
Yeah.
I totally understand. This is giant robot. I think Vholt will clamber up after having also fallen backwards from T.S.E.E.R. And I can't really, maybe try to extend a hand to you. I don't know how you help a large metal bird up. But just kind of like look to you as you're like becoming aware.
Yeah.
And like I think Vholt can tell that you have these things going on, like the panting or whatever. and he'll say something along the lines of like, "Oh, friend, there's no need for that now," and he'll try to help Seer up.
Yeah, I think Seer looks at you and like you watch the eyes focus on you, and there's a little bit of calming at the fact like, okay, not immediately under attack. This person seems friendly, and will accept your help getting back to his feet. And then kind of, I want to say he ruffles his feathers, but he probably doesn't have individual feathers.
I feel like Vholt.
Clanking.
Volt's kind of like
as individual.
You described your character as like made of gears practically, so why not? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I feel like Volt's kind of like pacing around or like circling Seer as they're like getting acclimated or whatever, and kind of like maybe dusting off a little bit, but like just like way too interested in what's going on.
Yeah.
Like in like
Seer's
any
head follows you around, almost 360 degrees.
I am
Yeah.
so tempted to gaslight you right now.
Who, me?
Yeah.
Go for
I
it.
have the ability that can cause you to forget something.
Uh-huh.
Until next you see me. And I was thinking it might be good to I'm gonna go ahead and just go like there and try to get you to forget about the panicked moment that you're focused on, to calm down. And because you are focusing on Vholt, at that point I'll kind of, after I do it, I'll back up into the crowd so you don't see me for a bit, so you can have a time of adjustment.
Seer, do you think that's fair, or do you think you would need, like, Nychelle might need to roll to give you the confidence that you require here?
No, I think that's fair, especially because she's part of this council that works with Augur.
Right.
And so could probably...
There might be some kind of psychic element to it, even.
Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha. I like that.
Yeah.
It's a more positive version of gaslighting than we usually see.
Right, and then all her trauma, Seer's trauma is going to come immediately back as soon as Seer sees Sequa, but Sequa will...
Yeah, as soon as you're reminded of it.
Some time has passed. Yeah.
It's good, because I think Kettu will take the attention here and just start clapping. Like...
and something I like...
Yeah, like she thinks this is appropriate, or he thinks this is appropriate, and wants like the council members to also clap.
And some of them do hesitantly, at which point we will kind of fade that clapping out as we flow back into the present. Maybe even like on Seer, like holding a wing out to steady someone as they travel rough terrain or something like that. To double in on that imagery. Yes, Todd?
Oh, I was gonna say maybe it fades to the first break.
I was just thinking the same thing. Yeah, so let's take a 5-minute break.
Yeah, absolutely.
To refresh water and snacks.
We'll be back in 5 minutes then, guys. See you in a bit.